Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're playing some Raid Shadow Legends, and as you can see by the title, we're going to talk about the starters. It should be in the thumbnail and everything and the title. So if it's your first time watching my channel, hi, thank you for tuning in. You can decide if you want to like afterwards, you don't have to like now, you don't have to like at all if you don't want to. But yeah, let's get started. So, if you're a new player and you want to have the best start possible, the starter hero is actually quite important because that will kind of carry you through like even like all of campaign. Like my Kale did carry me past my entire campaign with Seduso actually. So yeah, figuring out the best starter is an important thing, and we're going to try and take a look at all of our starters today, and we're going to see which could be the best. And every one of them, each and every one of them, have something they're good at, which is important to note. So even if you chose like, I don't know, either one of them, which is not the best one, it doesn't mean it's a bad hero in general, because all of them are strong at different things. All of them are pretty good. So the starters we're going to look at is Elhane, Kale, Gallic, and Aethel, Kale, Gallic, and yeah, Aethel, Gallic, Kale, and Elhane. I'm sorry, I'm mixing up the names. So let's head right over to our championess right here. I should have all of them prepared and ready. So let me just scroll down here. Yeah, we'll start off with let's start off with someone like I don't know. Let's look at Elhane. Why not? Elhane is one of the starters you can choose. She is a fantastic hero, as you can see by the reviews in game. Not that they matter too much, but there's a lot of ratings here. Her stats overall is pretty high, even though like maybe 13,830 people who have gotten her from the start has just loved her. But they haven't maybe had like a legendary or like someone else to compare it to. But anyway, let's look at her skills. Also, what this exclamation point means, if also I learned that word on YouTube. Yeah, we'll look at the ascended skill obviously, because you will be able to ascend the hero very easily, very easily, quite fast after you've made your account. Like after a little while, you should be able to ascend. So we'll read with ascended skills, and we'll take aura and everything into consideration. So, her first shot, this is the skill that just does, she hits all the time, there's no turn cooldown or anything. She just attacks one enemy, places an extra hit if this attack is critical. So this means if you do like crit on her or whatever, she will do 2 hits as her just all the time skill, which means she already does 1 more hit than at a certain percentage amount of time than say Kale and stuff. So it's not too bad. It's a very good skill. Then we have her secondary skill. Value of that is the 3rd skill, and this one is very good. It's with the ascended skill, attacks one enemy, then all enemies, has a 50% chance of inflicting a crit. So that, yeah, let's say you have 85% crit rate, she will have like an 100% chance of critting, essentially. And then she also gives herself a buff for 3 turns if a target is killed, which is also very good, because typically, for example, even in arena, there are people who just focuses more towards one hero than another, and that's actually very good for you, because if she does kill them, she will have an additional 30%. So you could technically have a 55% crit rate chance, and if you do crit and you have the crit rate, you have a 100% chance to crit even with just 55% crit, which is very important to keep in mind. This is on a 5-turn cooldown. You can make it go all the way down to 4, but that takes a lot of skill breaks, which isn't too difficult to get for a rare hero. And then we have Value of that, which attacks all enemies 2 times. This could be good and bad. The reason it can be bad is because if you face a red hero, like a red hero, like blue is verse against red, red is verse against green, green is verse against blue, and yeah, blue is strong against green, red is strong against blue, and all that. Because against the right hero, you have a 30% chance of doing a weak hit, which is a problem. So the good news is you have an additional chance to crit in the second or first hit, but you also have a chance of doing a weak hit, which is where the issue lies. So it kind of balances itself out in a way. And as it attacks all enemies 2 times, they won't each be as powerful as like a Kale ultimate hit. I think essentially like he would deal. I'm not sure how much percentage out of like the total damage is compared to Kale with his just one hit with his acid rain. So that's also something to keep in mind. Because yeah, if you do a weak hit, if you do 2 crits, then again it's fantastic. So Elhane is great. Many people choose her for their accounts to do the stuff with the campaign and everything. And I even did that on my free-to-play account, which is where the thumbnail is referencing from. So yeah, Elhane she's a very good hero. She's a high standard, okay? She's a super high standard. Now let us take a look at Aethel. Do I have a weak Aethel? Or just an Aethel? I have Dark Aethel. That's not the correct one. Yeah, here I have an Aethel, which is another starter. I also figured out I failed the first recording, so I figured out that I don't have a Galax, so we'll have to look in Orcs and not Barbarians. Anyway, here is Aethel. We'll ignore that. The skills are leveled up. We don't care about that. So Aethel is another strong choice. She's not one of the more popular heroes to choose from as well. She's not the most popular one to choose as their starter. There's a lot of reasons because of that, and that is purely because she doesn't attacks one enemy 3 times, attacks all enemies. This is the Divine Blades. See, yeah. So she has a skill where she hits all the enemies. The thing about this is, okay, let's go over skill 1 first and then we'll work towards it. So attacks one enemy 3 times, has a 70% chance of placing a weaken. This is a good skill, right? You have a 75% chance of weakening someone, and this is at all times. What weaken does is that the enemy starts to take more damage. I'm not exactly 100% sure how much less, but it's essentially like a decreased defense, except I think it kinda decreases the defense and maybe the attack of the hero, but I'm not fully sure how weaken works. But I know that the enemy starts to take more damage if they have that debuff on them, which is important to note. So let's say they take a little bit more damage anyway. So yeah, this is good to have at all times. She can do it when the other skills are on cooldown. She can do this all the time, and she can weaken a lot of enemies to make other heroes and Aethel herself to deal more damage against them, so it's not too bad. And then we have the Divine Blades. Attacks all enemies, has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit. This is a very good skill. Divine Blades is a very good skill, and you can also combine this with Higher Blessing. So you can do this at as low as a 3-turn cooldown, which is not bad. Also, I forgot to talk about the aura of Elhane, but yeah, let's go back real quickly. I don't want to forget that. Yeah, the aura is HP in all battles by 15%. Yeah, it's kind of basic, and she's a blue hero. Yeah, she's a rare hero, whatever. Okay, cool. So let's head back over to our Aethel here. Yeah, she does have she also increases all HP in all battles by 15%. Anyway. Places a 25% increased attack buff on this champion and places a 30% increased defense buff on this champion for 2 turns if this champion's current HP is less than 50%, gains an extra turn. What's important to note about this skill is that she gets an extra turn and her attack gets increased. So what you can do here is you can use this skill and you can do Divine Blades, and that's kind of insane actually. That's awesome. Yeah, the game just lagged for a moment there, sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but okay. And then she can do other Divine Blades. But as Divine Blades is not the ultimate skill, right? It's just a secondary skill. Like the third skill is always the strongest skill typically. And because she just doesn't have like if this was in number 2 and Divine Blades was in number 3, she might undoubtedly be like one of the best heroes as the starter hero. So purely because she does have Divine Blades as a second skill, it means it doesn't deal as much, I don't think. But then again, Kale has kinda the same one. This is an attack too, and this, like, Kale, I think may won't be one of the best. So yeah, even though she doesn't really, even though it's an attack too, I guess it can still be very strong. But from my experience, it doesn't deal as much as like Kale's Acid Rain or Elhane's uh, like super duper third skill as well. So yeah, that's something to note. I'm not sure if I would have started with Aethel myself, but even if you do, what's very good about her is that if you somehow like get her to, she's good in other things than campaign. You know, this is more of a campaign, like who's the best in campaign and overall like dungeons. But I think Aethel and Kale are definitely the two best to have in clan boss. Yeah, I think they're pretty good there. Let's now go over to Index and we'll head over to uh, Orcs and we'll head over to let's see here. Here we have our Gallic. Okay, so Gallic, he is an interesting hero. He's a very interesting hero. I think if you let's read his skills and then talk a little bit more. Attacks one enemy 2 times. This is fine enough. It's the same like all the starter heroes are blue, I should say. Like all of them are weak to red, so you will struggle at like chapter 11 in the campaign because most enemies there are red, and the final boss there is tough because it's a red boss and you do a lot of weak hits. Anyway though, this is good and bad at the same time because you can have a weak hit and a crit, and you can have 2 crits or you can have 2 weak hits. So it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like, you know, Elhane's third skill. And then we have attacks all enemies. Also, I should say, he doesn't do any debuffs, he doesn't do any buffs to himself. This is just a standard attack 1, so it's, yeah, it's kind of whatever, to be honest. Then we have this one, Hellraiser. Attacks all enemies, has an extra 15% chance of inflicting a critical hit, places a 30% increased speed buff on the champion for 2 turns. That's a good hit, and it's also like an attack too, and it's only on a 3-turn cooldown, which is something to note as well. Also, its aura increase all HP in all battles by 15%, so it's kind of whatever. It's like the other ones. And then we have this one. This one is actually quite useful. This is super good. Attacks 4 times at random, has a 30% chance of placing a 30% decreased defense debuff for 2 turns, has a 30% chance placing a 60% decreased debuff for 2 turns if the target has more than 2 debuffs. So this could actually work very well if you used, for example, like Aethel. She does a weaken, and if you already do have decreased def from this going once, or any debuffs from anyone else, if this could be useful. But then again, we're not talking about you having Gallic or Aethel at the same time. But yeah, if you have a debuff team, this guy may just crush it with decreasing their defense by 60%. Because if they have 60% decreased defense, and you do Hellraiser, I think this may be probably the strongest skill, honestly. But the thing is, with campaign, to 3-star it, you can only use 2 heroes. And the second hero should be a tank, so you'd want a tank which does a lot of debuffs to all the enemies at the same time for Hellraiser to be OP. But I have played on a whale account, a super pay-to-win account, with heroes with 80,000 health, and they have been one-shot by a Gallic. I don't know how the enemy built them, but what I'm trying to say is it's possible to make this guy an absolute beast somehow. I'm not sure how they did it, but Gallic is pretty fair. He's pretty fair in campaign, but he can do a lot of damage. But there are a lot of RNG with you having to place more than 2 debuffs. It's difficult to make him. Yeah, if you have the proper tank with doing a lot of debuffs and everything, then maybe Gallic is worth your time. But I'm genuinely not sure if he's worth to use as a starter, in my opinion anyway. He's a great hero, he truly is, but I'm not sure if you need so many things to make him the best one, in a way, right? Let's head over and look at Kale. This is the hero I started my original series with, like the episode freaking 109 series. If you want to watch it, you can. Anyway, this is the one I used, and I think let's first of all rate the skills. A Dark Bolt attacks one enemy, has a chance of placing a poison. The poison thing, you can ignore it for campaign. It doesn't do much. Well, sometimes it could be a clutch, but it genuinely doesn't do much in campaign. It does help a lot in clan boss. I think this guy is the best in clan boss out of Aethel and Kale. I may be wrong in saying that, but I think this guy is better than Aethel in clan boss. But yeah, his poison thing, I don't think you should take too much about that in campaign. Maybe against campaign bosses, maybe that's useful, but yeah. And then we have the lovely Acid Rain. I think this is probably the strongest AoE skill out of all the starters, unless Gallic again has like all the benefits. Attacks all enemies, has a 50% chance of inflicting a critical hit. Fills the turn meter of this champion by 25% for each enemy killed. This is huge. This is very huge. Because if you do kill, let's say, I don't know, let's say you kill 3 enemies and you have 1 remaining, you've already increased your turn meter by 75%. If you already had like an additional 25% for whatever reason after he's done a hit, like if he gets overbuffed or something, you will just get an additional hit, technically. I didn't really experience much of this myself, but I guess it's a nice thing. Acid Rain though, it's so strong. It's a very strong one, it's a very strong skill. And then attacks 4 times at random, has a 40% chance of placing a poison and everything. This is just great for clan boss. The poison is huge for a clan boss. So this is definitely a worthwhile champion. If you care more about clan boss campaign, even in the very beginning for your starter, this guy is fantastic for the clan boss. And even you can get an Elhane, a Kale, and as you can see here, if you've played long enough, you can have enough for all of them. But at that point you have your heroes, which is just better than them. And his aura increase ally HP in all battles by 15%. So something to note, I guess, is that Elhane, was it Elhane? Yeah, Elhane is the only one that has like their ascended skill, which essentially means it's stronger in a way. So that's something to think about. So from my experience, I think, and from what you guys have told me throughout the hundreds or over 100 episodes, it's that, like Pirate's Locker, if you guys know it, it is mainly that if you have godlike artifacts, and this is from my experience, if you have great artifacts, Kale is your best starter. Kale is without a doubt your best starter if you can make him survive. Because what he lacks is survivability, which essentially means that he can die very quickly. He does not tank a lot. And that means you do need a very good amount of, you need very good artifacts. I'd say maybe like, you know, 5-star artifacts or whatever, something that gives you what you need. I do have a Kale guide or a new player guide, so yeah, I have guides all over there. But that's just something to count if you want to use Kale. So yeah, I think he is the best one if you have great artifacts. If you have fantastic artifacts, Kale is the best one to start off with. But I should note, you need good artifacts to make him work. The best, if you do not have too great artifacts, and you're... Yeah, Elhane is probably the best one you can choose if you don't have great artifacts. Because she does tank a bit and she does do her second hit. She is a genuinely great hero, and I'm sure many people disagree with me saying that Kale is the best one, even with great artifacts. But that's just from my experience. I did manage to 3-star all of campaign. Normal, hard and brutal. I did manage to do this with a 6-star Kale and a 5-star Jisoo. That's all I did. 6-star Kale and 5-star Jisoo. I 3-star all of campaign. So that's something to note. But I did have good, very good artifacts on my Kale, which is why it worked. But you should be able to do the same with like an Elhane, I think. And yeah, then again, with the entire Gallic thing, if you have like a great tank doing a lot of debuffs, I'm not sure which tank you would want to have. but I think it's difficult with Galley because I think he dies quickly and I don't think he gets his full potential. But then again, I think he could do very well in campaign, but I don't see many people use him, to be honest, to do it. But yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe with godlike artifacts, but I think he just dies too quickly, to be honest. And the same goes with Aethel. I think she does survive a good bit, actually, but I just don't think her secondary skill is strong enough for her to like carry the team or carry you and like the tank. But yeah, Jisoo is a great tank for starters. He really is. Jisoo is fantastic. And you will get him from just logging in. You won't really have to summon him or anything. So yeah, what I did was I had very good artifacts on Kale and I had fair artifacts on Jisoo, and that's it. So yeah, but yeah, that's it. Something to note. So for me, Kale worked, but you need good artifacts. If you don't have great artifacts or you don't count on getting great artifacts or farm for them, then you should use Aethel. But this is just something to think about. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy, now you can decide if you want to like or not. Then you can decide to like, and then you can watch more videos. You can watch the 109 episode series as well if you want like a detailed walkthrough in a way. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks guys so much for watching. Have a nice one, and goodbye.